Sometimes we fall in love with the wrong person. It's not always easy to admit, but it's a truth that we must face. When that happens, we can become so blinded by our feelings that we ignore the signs that something is just not right. In today's video, we're going to be revealing 8 signs you're in love with the wrong person. Without wasting your time, let's get into it. Sign number 1. You can't be yourself around them. Have you ever felt like you can't be yourself around someone you're supposed to love? It's a terrible feeling, like you're trapped in a cage, unable to express your true thoughts and feelings. You may feel like you have to hide aspects of yourself just to please them. This is one of the most obvious signs that you're in love with the wrong person. When you're with the right person, you feel free to be yourself. You don't have to hide anything or pretend to be someone you're not. You're able to express yourself honestly and openly, without fear of judgment or rejection. But when you're with the wrong person, you may feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time. You may be afraid to speak your mind or express your true feelings. You may feel like you have to hide your true self in order to keep the peace. Feeling trapped is a terrible feeling, and it can be a sign that you're in love with the wrong person. It can make you feel suffocated and unhappy, and it can lead to resentment and bitterness. If you're feeling trapped in a relationship, it's important to recognize it and address it. You need to be honest with yourself and your partner about how you feel. You need to communicate your needs and boundaries clearly and assertively. It's not always easy to do this, but it's essential for your well-being and happiness. If your partner truly loves you, they will respect your boundaries and support your need for freedom and authenticity. Remember, being able to be your authentic self in a relationship is crucial for its success. You deserve to be with someone who loves and accepts you for who you are, without judgment or conditions. Don't settle for anything less than that. Sign number 2. You're not a priority in their life. Picture this. You've been with someone for a while now, and you're really starting to develop feelings for them. You're excited to see where this relationship could go, but there's just one problem. You're starting to realize that you're not a priority in their life. Maybe they're always canceling plans, or they don't seem to make time for you like they used to. In a healthy relationship, both partners should prioritize each other. They should make time for each other, and they should make each other feel valued and loved. But if you find yourself consistently being put second to other things in their life, it might be a sign that they're not the right fit for you. Now, I know this can be tough to swallow. You might be thinking you love them and want to make it work, but here's the thing. If they're not making you a priority now, what makes you think that will change in the future? It's important to remember that you deserve to be with someone who makes you feel important and loved. You deserve to be with someone who values your time and your feelings. If you're constantly feeling like you're not a priority in their life, it's time to take a step back and reevaluate the relationship. Now, I want to be clear. There might be times when your partner has to prioritize other things in their life. Maybe they have a big work project, or they're dealing with a family emergency. And that's okay. But if you find that this is a consistent pattern and you're always being put on the back burner, it's time to have a serious conversation with your partner. Remember, you're worthy of love and respect. Don't settle for someone who doesn't make you feel like a priority in their life. It might be tough to walk away, but in the end, you'll be glad you did. Sign number 3. You feel insecure and anxious around them. Being around the wrong person can make you feel like you've lost a sense of yourself, your worth, and your security. It can lead to feelings of anxiety and depression, both of which can have negative impacts on your mental health. No one should have to live like this. God's perfect love casts out fear. In 1 John chapter 4, verse 18, Scripture tells us, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love." The Greek word for fear here is phobos, referring to dread, terror, or anxiety. When a relationship consistently produces anxiety, insecurity, or emotional turmoil, It contradicts the peace that characterizes God's presence. Jesus promised in John chapter 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." This doesn't mean relationships never face challenges, but there's a profound difference between facing external struggles together and the relationship itself being the source of your anxiety. When you're walking on eggshells, constantly fearing your partner's reaction, or feeling emotionally unsafe, you're experiencing the opposite of God's relational design. The first step is being able to trust your partner. If you don't feel safe, respected, and heard within your relationship, then it's time to re-evaluate the situation. A healthy relationship should foster growth and connection with your partner and provide an environment of safety and security. Next, make sure that you're investing in yourself as well as your relationship. Find hobbies or activities that empower you and give you a sense of purpose. You deserve to be in a relationship where you don't lose your identity. Instead, try to find someone who encourages personal growth and development. Finally, invest in relationships with people who understand and appreciate your needs and feelings. Everyone deserves to be in a relationship that cultivates love, respect, security, and understanding. Life is too short to be in an unhealthy relationship. If something doesn't feel right, speak up. It's always better to be alone than to be in an unhealthy relationship that makes you feel anxious, depressed, and insecure. You deserve to live your life with peace and joy, and that starts with finding a partner who values and respects you for who you are. So take a stand for yourself and find the right relationships that will help you reach your full potential. Sign number 4. You're always making excuses for their behavior. Everyone has experienced the feeling of being excited and exhilarated to be in a relationship with someone special. Unfortunately, sometimes this excitement can cause us to overlook our partner's shortcomings or bad behavior, making excuses for them and giving them a pass on things they should be held accountable for. We might brush this off as them being busy with work or having a bad day. We make up excuses for their behavior, telling ourselves that it isn't really a big deal. Or maybe we let our partner walk all over us, not expressing our own needs and desires because we want to keep the peace. We might find ourselves sacrificing our values or beliefs just to make them happy. Again, we tell ourselves that it's okay and that our partner is worth the compromise. These are all signs that we're making excuses for someone, and it's important we learn how to recognize when we're doing this. It can be easy to get caught up in the feelings of being in love and blind ourselves, so take some time to think about whether your partner's actions are truly acceptable and if you're making excuses for them out of fear or unwillingness to stand up for yourself. Sign number 5. You feel like you're settling. That persistent feeling that you're reducing your values, accepting less than God's best, or ignoring important incompatibilities is often the Holy Spirit's gentle warning. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 instructs us, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Settling in relationships often begins with small compromises, overlooking character flaws, dismissing spiritual apathy, or rationalizing behavioral red flags. Remember Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived. In 1 Kings chapter 11, verses 1 to 4, we read, "But King Solomon loved many strange women, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God." Solomon settled for relationships that God had specifically prohibited, and these relationships eventually pulled his heart away from God. It paints a picture of lowering your position to match another's, exactly what happens when believers compromise God's standards in relationships. Ask yourself honestly, am I with this person because I genuinely believe they're God's best for me, or am I afraid of being alone? Am I ignoring God's still, small voice, warning me that this isn't his plan? Am I compromising the vision God gave me for my life and ministry? When you check deeply, you will see that you are indirectly settling or accepting a behavior simply because you don't want to be single. Sign number 6. Ignoring red flags. We all want to find someone who loves us for who we are. We imagine finding that special person who will make us feel valued, accepted, and understood. But too often, we ignore the warning signs that show up early in a relationship and choose to stay with the wrong person. Sometimes those subtle hints of trouble can easily be overlooked or dismissed as a bad day. But ignoring red flags in a relationship is a major mistake that could lead to being trapped in an unhealthy partnership. Common red flags may include possessiveness, lack of communication, or sudden changes in behavior. Sometimes these warning signs come in the form of controlling actions, such as insisting on knowing where you are at all times or expecting you to report back. Other times it might take shape as a lack of communication and meaningful dialogue. Whatever the sign, it's important to pay attention and take action when needed. Ignoring red flags is a dangerous game to play because it can lead to falling in love with the wrong person. This can be damaging, and damaging relationships can often leave scars that last long after the relationship has ended. That's why it's important to pay attention to red flags early on in order to save yourself from heartache down the road. Listening to your intuition can help you distinguish between harmless quirks and blatant red flags. Never be afraid to set boundaries or walk away if something doesn't feel right. Taking control of your own happiness means sometimes having the courage to say goodbye. Sign number 7. You feel like you're the only one putting in the effort. It's a common problem. You feel like you're the only one putting in the effort to make your relationship work. You pour your heart and soul into your partner, hoping that it will be appreciated, but instead, you get nothing back. It's an unbalanced dynamic, a one-sided relationship that can be both emotionally and physically draining. When one partner is seemingly doing all the work and not getting anything but constant criticism in return, the balance is off, and it can often lead to a lot of pain and disappointment. It's easy to become discouraged when the relationship isn't equal, but it's important to remember that no matter how hard it might seem, you deserve someone who will match your effort. Joy exists in relationships that are two-sided, where both partners are equally involved, supportive, and invested. Neither person should be doing all the work or feeling taken for granted. It needs to be a balanced relationship for both partners to benefit from it. Making sure our relationships are balanced and mutually rewarding takes some self-reflection as well as communication with our partner. Have honest conversations about what each of you need and what works best for you both so that everyone is heard and taken into account. A relationship without a back-and-forth exchange of effort can end up damaging both parties involved. So making sure there is reciprocity is essential for a healthy connection. Don't settle for something that doesn't bring out the best in you. You deserve someone who puts in the same level of effort as you do, because balance is key to successful and fulfilling relationships. Sign number 9. Your spiritual growth has stagnated or declined. One of the clearest indicators you're with the wrong person is when your relationship with God suffers. A God-ordained partnership should propel you closer to Christ, not pull you away from Him. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 to 16, Paul writes, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? For ye are the temple of the living God." The Greek word for unequally yoked is heterozygio, a farming term referring to yoking animals of different kinds together, creating strain, inefficiency, and suffering for both animals. This principle extends beyond just believer-unbeliever distinctions to spiritual compatibility. Even among believers, significant differences in spiritual maturity, biblical understanding, or commitment to God's ways can create an unequal yoke. Has your prayer life diminished since beginning this relationship? Do you find yourself attending church less frequently or engaging less deeply? Are you compromising biblical convictions to maintain harmony? Does discussing spiritual matters with your partner feel uncomfortable or unnatural? The relationship between Aquila and Priscilla in Acts demonstrates how God-ordained partnerships enhance spiritual growth. They ministered together, taught together, and supported Paul's mission together. Their relationship magnified their individual spiritual gifts rather than suppressing them. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. If you love our videos, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel